let's start. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to Bangalore City Toastmasters Club, meeting number 1310. Now, before we start, I would like to remind you about 3 rules. 1, be mindful about what you say so that you don't hurt or offend others. 2, keep your mic on mute when you're not talking. If you are talking, you can, of course, switch on your mic. And 3, participate, keep your cameras on and smile. Now, the theme for today's meeting is, first we make our beliefs and then our beliefs make us. Now, today I want to do things a little differently. I am going to have a quiz for you people. These are quotes from movies, and I want to see if anyone can identify who spoke these lines. 1, just keep swimming. Any guesses?
Finding Dory.
Yes, and who said that?
I.
Now, who's a character who said that?
Dory.
Yes, awesome. Okay, the second one. It is useless to meet revenge with revenge. It will heal nothing. Any guesses?
Batman?
Not quite. I'll give you a hint. It's from Lord of the Rings. Okay, this has been said by Frodo Baggins. And if you remember his character, it's very typical of him, his attitude. And third, okay, this one is a little easier. It is our choices that show us what we truly are, far more than our abilities. Take a guess.
You enlighten us. You look blank.
Okay, this is from Harry Potter.
Wizardry world.
Yes. You can literally name, the main characters and one of them will hit. Anyone want to go?
There's Harry Potter, there's Dumbledore, there's
Yes,
Hermione.
Dumbledore.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. And okay, this is very typical of the person who, okay, this is a very famous one. Life finds a way.
Is it 5 feet apart?
No, from Jurassic Park. Okay.
Nope.
I think that Shreyas is, you're a little young. I don't know whether you saw the movie when it came out. Anyone want to take a guess? Okay, this is by Dr. Ian Malcolm. And talking about him, it's a very typical quote because he keeps repeating this throughout the movie, and you see it slowly coming into reality, which is why I thought it was great to meet today's theme. And this is actually something that the next person to take on the virtual lectern believes in, because she believes that things work out in the end, no matter what it looks like at the moment. So I'm sure the next person will have a lot to say about this. So let us welcome our president, Toastmaster Hannah Victoria, onto the virtual lectern.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Chaitra, for that introduction.
A very good evening, my fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. I now declare meeting 1310 as open. For the benefit of the guests, the Bangalore Toastmasters Club is one of the oldest and the second largest clubs of over 800 clubs in India. We are a community club where you get to learn from an 18-year-old to a 72-year-old. This year, we celebrate our 25th anniversary. And I welcome all the guests. If they'd like to know more about Toastmasters and our club, you can please contact our Vice President Membership, Toastmaster George, who will be more than happy to furnish with you all the details. May I now request Toastmaster Kirtana, our secretary, to please present the minutes of the meeting 1309. Over to you, Toastmaster Kirtana.
Good evening, my dear fellow Toastmasters and guests. The previous meeting, meeting number 1309, theme, True Courage is like a kite, a wind opposite to it makes it only fly higher. And a word of the day was zenith, meaning the time at which something is powerful or successful. The session was started by our Sergeant at Arms, Toastmaster Chaitra, at sharp 6:30 p.m. with her lovely warmth, followed by the President's speech giving us examples of her life and how she learned it the hard way. The session was then conducted by our TMOD Toastmaster, Alan, charming and always ready to help. We had 4 prepared speeches by Toastmaster Sureka, a guest, Ila Vyas, Toastmaster Puneet, and Toastmaster Nagesh. They were evaluated by Toastmaster Kamlesh, Preeti, Richard, and DTM Sumitrama. Continuing the session, the table topics was conducted by Toastmaster Aaron, who had the house engaged with topics on courage, and also made a point to kindly let the people who slid away from taking the table topics know that he will make sure to catch them next time. The whole session was then evaluated by our all-time favorite, Toastmaster Robinson D'Souza, our dear Toastmaster mentor, leaving us with points to improve on which, with the help of his Taggle team members, Toastmasters Vishal, Prathik, Vasumati, and Kunal. The winners of the meeting were as follows. For Taggle team, Toastmaster Vasumati. For role taker, Toastmaster Alan. Table topic speaker, DTM Rajdeep. Evaluator, DTM Sumitra. Speaker, Toastmaster Sureka. We had 38 members and 22 guests in the house, and the session ended by 8:40. Over to you, President.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Kirtana. Any amendments to the meetings just presented? I now declare minutes of the meeting 1309 as passed. Coming to the theme of today's meeting. First, we make our beliefs, and our beliefs make us. I didn't want to get too philosophical with the theme, so I wanted to present the beliefs just as they are. I'll put them into 3 buckets, my perception. The first is our family beliefs. The second is our religious beliefs. And the third is our personal beliefs. From the first of family beliefs, if you come to think of it, each family has certain deep-rooted beliefs in the family. For example, in my house, in my father's house, it was, we never wore black. Black was considered to be a very, very unlucky color. I remember I used to see my elders choosing their clothes. Even if there was a small dot of black, they would say, no, another color. So they thought that black brought in sadness or it's unlucky. And that was so deep-rooted within us as well. We never wore black. until I got married. And when I came to my husband's house, he only wore black, gray, or blue t-shirts. So it took me so long to unlearn the belief that, you know, it's all right. It's not in the colors. And only until very recently, maybe 2 years back, I have started wearing black. Another belief in our house was that December was a month mixed of sadness and happiness. Sadness because many of my father's generation, he had 8 brothers and sisters, and most of them passed away in the month of December. So inevitably, all our elders in the month of December would be very, very cautious. They won't go out always with a sweater, everything. I mean, it was like we expected something bad to happen in the month of December. And even that took me so long to overcome that fact. The second belief is the religious beliefs. I'm sure my Toastmaster friends will be very eager to know what I'm going to say about religious beliefs. The only fact that I want to make is that our religious beliefs are so much part of our lives. It forms the discipline which we have in our day-to-day activities, and it brings about a certain level of pertinacity in us. That's all I'm going to tell about religious beliefs. The third is our personal beliefs. Personal beliefs, which I would say as it comes from either peers or we've seen somebody speaking about it, and it just it gets absorbed into our system. One of the personal beliefs I had when I was growing up, I was always in a girls' school, and I studied in a girls' college. So I never had the opportunity of mingling with boys, though all in my house, many of them were much elder to me. And when I joined work, it was that I was in a sales team, back office support, supporting around 25 sales executives for this MX card. So they used to give their documentation, and I used to check if all the documentation is fine. Believe me, if they spoke to me 5 minutes or more, I would think they have the wrong intention. I would just not entertain them beyond a point. It took me, again, quite a long time to have a proper non-romantic conversation with a man. So you see how beliefs so strongly stick in us that it molds you and shapes you to a large extent. Another personal belief was that, I don't know how I gathered it, but to hoard. I would buy things, not very often, but whenever I buy, I would save for a special occasion. I never know when that special occasion is going to come, but then I would save either my perfumes or my creams. I've thrown away so many creams because it's got expired and I've not used them. So, and this year I decided that I'm going to use whatever is in my cupboard. Whatever can be used, maybe not jewelry, but other things perish. I mean, which I've always held on to. Anything nice I've bought for as clothes, I have decided to use them, not for a special occasion. Every day is special, so we might as well use it. So my Toastmasters and guests, I want to trigger a thought in you. What are your beliefs? What beliefs do you want to build, and what beliefs you want to shake off? Going forward with the meeting, I'd like to introduce the Toastmaster of the day. This Toastmaster is an absolute gem of a person, a great human being. She and I, one of the first meetings when I met her was in Toastmasters. Both of us were giving prepared speeches, and inevitably She gave such a flawless, great speech. And when my turn came, halfway through, I forgot the entire speech. And when I was going home, I received a WhatsApp from this Toastmaster, encouraging me and telling me that it will be all right. The biggest believer, she has the belief that don't give your best and enjoy the journey. The end is not in your control at all, be it good or bad. It is not in your control, but you give your best in your journey. And this Toastmaster has, I think the greatest gift which you can give a person is time. And she has given me so much time, which I will be ever grateful and indebted to. She has a gorgeous smile. And I know that this meeting will be so memorable to many of you. She will throw words of wisdom all through the meeting, which I'm sure many of you will be encouraged with. So please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Surekha to the stage, please.
Wow. Thank you, President Hannah. Your kind words have made me light up with quiet joy. Good evening, esteemed Toastmasters and dear guests. Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. Today's theme is first we make our beliefs and then our beliefs make us. So up till April 1954, for thousands of years, there was this common universal belief that man could not run a mile under 4 minutes. Because it had been tried again and again and again, and people had repeatedly failed, there was this staunch, steadfast belief that man just did not have the physical capacity to run that mile under 4 minutes. That was the belief on the planet. It had never been done. And then Roger Bannister came along. He shattered that belief by running that mile in 3 minutes and 59 seconds. So, how was he able to achieve this absolutely impossible feat? What is it that he did differently than anyone else on the planet until then? It was his eyesight and his mind sight. Eyesight is to believe it when you see it, and mind sight is to believe it even before you see it. So Roger Bannister, his belief in himself was far bigger than anyone else's belief in him. He started by breaking that barrier in his mind's eye. He visualized his athletic victory with such certainty, with such ferocity, that he gave an unquestionable command to his body. And finally, his pertinacity won. And then he was able to accomplish that physical result which matched with his mental picture. And here's what's even more significant. After he'd done that, more than 20,000 people have been able to achieve this feat, even high school kids. So what changed? Their belief about it changed. Here's what happened when they got onto the track. They knew that it could be done. And because they knew that it could be done, there was this new belief about this barrier, about this goal, which was earlier unreachable, and about this target, which was earlier unattainable. So those 20,000 people got into that race believing that if someone else could do it, they could do it too. So let's ask ourselves, if someone can make their dream possible, can't we make ours possible? The key to unlock the secret to our dreams is to believe it's possible. Creating a new belief is a kind of software engineering. The only difference is that that software is up here in our heads. It is this kind of mental engineering that allows us to escape from our present circumstances and create new possibilities in our heads. So let us ask ourselves, what is that barrier that I want to burst through? What is it that I'm holding on to that I need to let go, that's holding me back, that I need to release? Friends, we need to operate from a larger vision of ourselves. We need to monitor our inner conversations. We need to understand that our input and our output will always walk hand in hand, and that our belief system will drive the ecosystem of our lives. If we see it in our mind, we are sure to hold it in our hands, because we can manifest that and only that which we believe is possible for us. And one such person who had awakened the giant power of belief within him was none other than the father of Toastmasters, Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. He had the staunch belief that by helping people develop their interpersonal skills in leadership and communication, he could help them lead richer and more fulfilling lives. Today, Toastmasters International comprises of more than 3.5 lakh members spanning across 145 countries and more than 16,600 clubs. It's a worldwide movement today and hosts the World Championships in public speaking. And now, for the benefit of the guests, a normal Toastmasters session is comprised of 3 sections. The first segment is that of the prepared topics. Here, speakers deliver their topics and the projects according to the pathways and the project that they are pursuing. Then comes the second segment, which is that of the table topics. Table topics helps us to structure and express our thoughts without any preparation at all in the safe, warm, and friendly climate of our club. And this segment is anchored by the table topics master of the day. And the third segment is that of the evaluation. Here, seasoned evaluators offer their priceless guidance to the speakers to help them rise to higher and higher levels of speech competence and mastery. And this key segment is anchored by the general evaluator of the day. So with a giant blast of applause, please help me in welcoming the general evaluator of the day and the supreme commander of the evaluation forces, Toastmaster Ganesh Pai, to spell out his role and to introduce his amazing, incredible Taggle team to all of us. Over to General Evaluator Ganesh Pai.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, Speaker Madam. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As General Evaluator for today's meeting, my role is to watch the entire proceedings of the meeting and to see what are the areas where we can do better, where we did well, and what are some of the things where we can move from good to better, from better to best. And staying true to the theme of today's meeting, we will enter this meeting with the belief that this meeting will be a confluence of education, enthrallment, and enlightenment. And to achieve this, I will be joining forces with our evaluators who will be evaluating each speeches, and as well as the Taggle team. I'll request the Taggle team members to introduce themselves and their role, to spell out their role. First, I would like to call our timer for today's meeting, Toastmaster Shreyas, to spell out the role, please.
Greetings, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and my dear guests. I will time the table topics, the speeches, the formal speeches, that is the prepared speeches, and the evaluation speeches. As time master of the day, I will be using colors to represent the time which has been used. That is the red color, the green color, and the yellow color. For the table topics, interestingly, at 1 minute, the green card will be displayed on the screen, and 1 minute 30 seconds, I will raise the yellow color card, and at 2 minutes, I will raise the red color card, and that is the table topics. And for the prepared speeches, we have 4 to 6 minutes, and at 4 minutes, I will be pressing a bell, and at the 5th minute, a bell, a 6th minute, a bell, and then there's another prepared speeches with 5 to 7, and at the 5th minute, I will raise a green color card, and the 6th minute, the yellow color card, and the 7th minute, the red color card. And at the evaluation, it's 2 to 3 minutes. The 2nd minute, the green color card, the second minute 30 seconds, the yellow color card, and at 3 minutes, the red card. And as timekeeper of the day or the time master of the day, all the very best for all role takers. Over to you, Toastmaster Ganesh Pai.
Thanks, Toastmaster Shreyas. As our counter, we have Toastmaster Priyanka Ranore. Priyanka, request if you can spell out your role, please.
Firstly, a very good evening, fellow Toastmasters and all the dear guests. As our counter, it's my responsibility to make note of words and sounds that are used as clutch or pause fillers by anyone who speaks today. Now, during the meeting, I will listen for overused words, which are and, well, but, so, and you know. And also the filler sounds, which include and at the end of the meeting, I will share my report to the general evaluator. Thank you. Over to you.
Thanks, Toastmaster Priyanka. And as a grammarian for today's meeting, we have Toastmaster Chiranta Gowda. Toastmaster Chiranta, may I request you to just help us understand your role in detail?
Good evening, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As a grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to all the speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I'll take notes of any improper language usage, as well as any outstanding words, quotes, or sayings, or thoughts. As a grammarian, it is also my duty to introduce the word of the day, which is pertinacity, which means firmly believing in an opinion or a purpose. So the example of the using of the word is, the pertinacity of her friend seemed more than she could bear. Or they fought with more pertinacity than the bulldog. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day. I'll give the grammarian report when called upon during the meeting, and also report on the usage of the word of the day. Thank you, Toastmaster Ganesh.
Thanks, Toastmaster Chiranta. As a listener, we have our veteran member, Toastmaster Richard D'Souza. Sir, may I request you to help us understand your role?
Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. Someone asked me what you are doing at a Toastmasters meeting. I said, we do better listening, better thinking, and better speaking. So Toastmasters, today I will be asking you a few questions at the end of the session when I'm asked to do it so by general evaluator to ascertain how well you have listened to the proceedings of today's meeting. Over to general evaluator, please.
Thank you, sir. All the best to all the role takers and the speakers. With that, I hand over the stage back to Toastmaster of the Day, Surekha ma'am.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Moving on, let's start with the prepared speeches section. So moving on, the first evaluator of the day is passionate about two things, and they are sports and travel. And he has this significant belief that his most important personality trait is his ability to persevere. I now call upon the first evaluator of the day, Toastmaster Sudipto Ghosh, to read out the guidelines for the icebreaker speech. Over to Toastmaster Sudipto.
Thank you, Surekha. The purpose of this project is for the member to introduce himself to the club and learn the basic structure of a public speech. Time manager, please note this is a 4 to 6 minute speech. All the very best to the speaker. Back to you, Surekha.
Thank you very much. Moving on, the first speaker of the day is attempting his icebreaker speech from the pathways, engaging humor. Love, joy, gratitude, and lots of fun, he says, are his core emotions. And one favorite childhood memory, which he cherishes even today, is when he, along with his 12-year-old friends, tried to bust an illicit liquor racket. And his staunch belief is that he's always in the right place at the right time with the right people. And that's why life always works out right for him. With a resounding burst of applause, please help me welcome into the digital spotlight Toastmaster Vijaysai to deliver his icebreaker speech titled A Questioning Reflection. a questioning reflection by Toastmaster Vijaysai. Over to Vijaysai.
Thank you. It's said that a question opens the door to various possible answers. Every event in my life has shaped me. What can I avoid speaking about? In the 19,000 days of the 630 months that I've lived in my life? How could I possibly avoid the fact that I was born after Satya Sai Baba blessed me? When my mother was in the OT, ready for a C-section at the railway hospital Hubli, Baba's Vibhuti made her have a normal delivery. He named me Vijay Sai, the one victorious, because of Sai, the only reason for my success. Could I leave out the fact that my elder sister and parents pampered and adored me? I simply can't. They, along with my teachers at St. Michael's High School, Hubli, encouraged me to participate and win competitions in singing, theatre, and elocution, planting the seeds of self-worth and self-esteem. Can I avoid speaking about my student days in Sri Satya Sai College and my 6-year stint as an English lecturer in the Sri Satya Sai University? Never. My life experience was gained there. I have spoken multiple times in front of CMs, governors, and presidents, which culminated with a 20-minute impromptu speech in front of the then president, Sri Shankar Dayal Sharma, at the behest of Satya Sai Baba. I have taken care of the Indian cricket team during the exhibition match and have hosted various VIPs as a part of my duty in the ashram. My leadership and people skills were nurtured there. Then I thought, what could I cover about the variety in my professional journey? Shouldn't I speak about how my specialization in linguistics and phonetics helped me get into the corporate sector for ITS training? Yes. I introduced voice and accent into the medical transcription industry and the call centers in 1998 and have trained more than 250 VNA trainers, and I created the Funometer to measure the fun level in our company, which was a hit in the media during my tenure as the first ever CFO, Chief Fun Officer, in 2001. I now run an L&D company doing corporate training in soft skills and behavioral skills. I have but one life, many masters, and I'm a life coach, healer, and trainer in hypnotherapy and regression therapy. I train my flagship program, Yad Bhavam Tad Bhavati, on the law of deliberate creation, and the student program, Rewire a Brain and Rewrite Your Marks Card. I have worked with 1,000 clients in therapy and have reversed physical, mental, emotional issues by reprogramming their mind, rewiring their brain, and regenerating their cells. Shouldn't I now speak about the potpourri of my life? I learned music from Pandit Parameshwar Hegde and Sangeeta Katti. I've sung on the radio and television. I play the harmonium and perform light music. I have bhajan CDs and an album with T-series, and I've played minor roles in T.N. Sitaram's television serials where my wife has played the major ones. I've rescued and rehabilitated injured animals, both wild and domestic, including an owl and a loris monkey. Oh, what about my family that supports me and the other personal facts? Ours is a V family. Our family deity is Venkateshwara. I am Vijay. My wife is Vidya, who is also in the same profession as I am. My children, Vinita and Vikhyat, 18 and 15, studying in a holistic alternative school, are house help Vediyamma, and my dog, which has fought on victoriously for 9 years with a hole in her heart, is also a V. She's a velvet. I, who was once ready to die eating, have now gotten into rigorous dieting. I have in 18 months come down from 123 kgs to 95 kilos, moving from intermittent feasting to intermittent fasting. And I'm now on a OMAD diet. To be precise, OMAD, 1 meal a day. I'm always active. I believe in Tennyson's lines. How dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not shine in use. My attitude to life is carpe diem, seize the day, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield, because yoga karmashu kaushalam. True yoga is perfection in action. Tagore says, where silent striving stretches its arms towards perfection. That is my way of life. Raising my own bar, perfection in everything I do. And how can I complete without thanking and expressing my gratitude to my dear mentor Rajdeep and the Bangalore Toastmasters? This Toastmasters I have chosen to develop perfection in my speech with the first part, engaging humor, starting today with this icebreaker. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Surekha.
Thank you, Vijaysai. What a wonderful icebreaker speech that was. Absolutely smashing. You spoke about you, and you did that wonderfully well too. Friends, with a standing ovation, let's congratulate Toastmaster Vijaysai upon the completion of his terrific, top-notch icebreaker speech. Thank you very much. Moving on, I shall not ask the second evaluator to read the guidelines because they have already been read. Nevertheless, I would love to mention that he is an aspiring chartered accountancy student. And being curious and probing into the core of things not only brings him happiness, but adds more meaning to his life. Moving on, the second speaker of the day is attempting his icebreaker speech from the Pathways Presentation Mastery. A foodie at heart, he loves conversations. And one rule which he will never break is that he will always be transparent in his dealings with others. His real life hero, Harsha Bhogle. With endless cheering and clapping, please help me welcome into the digital spotlight Toastmaster Kunal Metha to deliver his icebreaker speech titled One Step at a Time. One Step at a Time by Toastmaster Kunal Metha. Over to Kunal.
Good evening, Toastmasters. Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. Good evening, guests. It was the last but one Monday in August 1992, exactly on the mother's birthday, her child was born. The child was healthy and naughty. A few months later, however, a routine medical checkup revealed that he did not respond very well to visual stimuli. Thus, a journey of discoveries and developments began both for the child and the family. When he was 4 or 5, the vision deteriorated and the family was devastated. They weren't sure how he would manage or what he would do for his future. Somebody suggested that he be admitted into a blind school, and there he was in the school, making new friends, following sport, and studying in that priority. In 2006, he was admitted to a regular school near his house. He again made new friends in the school, followed cricket commentary. But this time, one day, in a parents-teachers meeting, the principal said this student had enormous potential. Only if he worked harder, he could do very well. It was the first time that somebody had seen the potential of the student. He worked diligently. Instead of thinking smart people did not study for exams, he prepared hard and secured 83% in class 8 instead of just the 65 or 70% he secured previously. It was May 2009 and it was class 10. He did well and secured 90% and enrolled into the social science stream at Christ Junior College. He enrolled into the social science stream because somebody suggested he wouldn't be great at numbers that are associated with math or accounting. Love for cricket and admiration for food grew. And in 2011, when his 12th board results were out, he again did well by securing 88%. But this time, with his family's support, he enrolled into the Bachelor's of Business Management program at Christ University. This was challenging. He didn't know what a balance sheet or a journal entry was. Standard deviation was just a mere term. But by now, he had learned to handle uncertainties. Towards the end of the course, matching assets and liabilities became a new normal. Financial ratios seemed intuitive. He went on to secure a job as financial analyst with Goldman Sachs and worked there for 2 years. He then decided to pursue his MBA from a top-tier institution. This was a normal course of action for anybody, but for this individual, it was an uphill task because he was extremely bad at math. And he decided to give it his all and quit his job and prepared the whole year by sitting at home. The risk paid off when he made it to all the leading IIMs, and thus a wonderful 2-year journey at IIM Bangalore began. He secured a prestigious job in Mumbai post his MBA, but this time the family was worried. How would he survive on his own? How would he manage? He not just survived, but also grew professionally and personally in that role. More importantly, he survived the first COVID wave without his family. Life was set, or was it? Against the popular belief that one cannot quit corporate job very soon, he decided to pursue his passion and took up the role as an inclusion manager at a museum in Bangalore. He works towards making art accessible to everybody. Now, he works towards making art accessible, and not just accessible, but also usable to everybody. This student who seldom studied, this student who procrastinated, this individual who had the courage to pursue his passion despite the popular opinion, as you might have guessed, is me. Tracing back to my school days when I had a training on walking with a stick. It was, the instructor said, one step at a time. I didn't know what that was or how well I did that training, but all I know is that I've taken that advice quite seriously for life. What next? I don't know, but all I know is that I began this wonderful journey with the Bangalore Toastmasters Club, and I aspire to be an amazing orator one day. Thank you for listening, and over to you, Toastmasters of the day.
What a magnificent icebreaker speech that was, Toastmaster Kunal. You spoke about yourself and made us feel warm and welcomed in your life. Friends, with a standing ovation, let's congratulate Toastmaster Kunal upon the completion of his successful top-notch icebreaker speech. Thank you very much. Moving on, the third evaluator of the day, a past president, harbors the hope that one day he would be able to deliver impromptu speeches seamlessly. And he says that when life pulls him down, it's his friends who lift him up. I now call upon the third evaluator of the day, Toastmaster Vivek Vijayan, to read the guidelines for the third speech. Over to Toastmaster Vivek Vijayan.
Thanks so much, Toastmaster of the day. The speaker would be attempting level 1 of the presentation mastery. In the level 1, there is a project wherein you deliver a speech, receive a feedback, and after you receive a feedback, apply that feedback on the second speech. And this is the second speech that the speaker would be delivering on. It can be on any subject, and it is just to receive the feedback and to check if the feedback that the speaker has received in the previous speech has been promptly applied. All the best to the speaker. This is 5 to 7 minutes timer, please put. Back to you, Sureka ma'am.
Thank you so much. Moving on, the third speaker of the day is attempting his level 1 project 2 from Pathways Presentation Mastery. A software engineer, he is a voracious reader too. And his 3 topmost beliefs: respect everyone, that patience pays, and good things often take time. His favorite stress-busting activity: playing the guitar. With a thunderous round of applause, please help me in welcoming into the digital spotlight Toastmaster Prathik Uthappa to deliver his speech titled Mesmerizing Heavens. Mesmerizing Heavens by Toastmaster Prathik Uthappa. Over to Prathik.
Have you wondered, why don't we see as many stars in the skies now as we used to see in our childhood? Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. Thank you, Toastmaster Sureka ma'am, for the beautiful introduction. As a kid, I remember looking at the stars as if they were on top of us. So bright and so close, and there were billions of them. But now, they seem far and very faint. Have the stars moved away in the last 30 years? Or is it my failing eyesight? Fortunately, it's neither my eyesight nor the stars have moved away. The amount of light pollution in the last few decades has been dramatically high due to the artificial lightnings which illuminates our towns and cities, and due to the physical phenomenon of reflection and refraction of light that has obscured our visibility into the night sky. My father used to describe the night sky as a laboratory, as he had a deep knowledge of the stars, constellations, and different planets, and that inspired me to take up astronomy as a hobby. You will find me hooked to my binoculars during the late evenings, gazing the night sky and finding the various celestial bodies in the sky. Recently, I witnessed the International Space Station pass across our city. The International Space Station is located at an altitude of around 400 kilometers from the surface of the Earth, and currently has 7 astronauts manning it. The space station takes around 93 minutes to circle once around the Earth. This translates to 15.5 orbits per day. The astronauts experience around 15 sunrises and 15 sunsets each passing day. To view the night sky, I use a Celestron Skymaster 2080 binocular. This has a 80 mm lens and has a magnification ratio of around 20x. This is around 2 kilo in weight and definitely needs a mount to rest on. It has an easy maneuverability, which provides a breathtaking view of the surface of the moon, the planets like the Venus, Mars, Jupiter and its Galilean moon, and also the disk of the Saturn, galaxies like the Andromeda galaxy, nebulae clusters, and the Pleiades star cluster, which just looks like a box of jewels. These are all many light years away. Even the 3,100 artificial satellites which rotate round the Earth are also viewed through the binoculars. The best time to view them is either early in the morning, just before the sunrise, or after the sunset. That's when the sky is dark and still the sun rays can deflect on top of the metal surface of the satellites. Viewing the sun directly through a binocular or a telescope without solar filter can cause irreplaceable damage to your eyes. I urge each one of you to take up astronomy as a hobby and inspire your kids and your grandkids to do so, just like how my father inspired me to stargazing. Exploring the night sky is a fun activity for kids of all ages. There are plenty of softwares and applications which can help you identify and locate the different objects in the night sky. I even recommend you to visit the Nehru Planetarium in our city, which will provide you a detailed walkthrough of how the solar system works and the other objects in our in our universe. A visit to the planetarium will just not please your sense, but will deliver the facts which will wow you and your kids. For beginners, a binocular is recommended rather than a telescope. So why not reward yourself with a binocular for your upcoming birthday or your anniversary? You would literally have the entire universe at your hands. The greatest cosmologist of our times, late Stephen Hawking, once quoted, "Remember to look at the stars and not at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and understand what made the universe exist. Be curious. No matter how tough the life could be, there is somewhere that you can succeed at. What matters is that you don't give up." Back to you, Sureka ma'am.
Wonderful Toastmaster Pratik. Your passion for astronomy has compelled us to look upwards and led us from this world into another. Friends, can we hear that noisy routine for Toastmaster Pratik Uthappa's passionate and mesmerizing speech? Moving on, the fourth evaluator of the day is the recent recipient of the Triple Crown Award. A passionate and committed Toastmaster, he is the VP Ed and the secretary at other clubs and is currently mentoring a newly chartered college club. I now call upon Toastmaster Nagesh Ramamurthy to read out the guidelines for the fourth speech of the day. Over to Toastmaster Nagesh Ramamurthy.
Thank you, TMOD. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Today, the fourth speaker, DTM Lalith, is attempting his level 3, project 3 of level 1, which is research and presenting. The purpose of this project for him is to learn or review basic research methods and present a well-organized, well-researched speech on any topic. The duration of the speech would be 5 to 7 minutes. Wish him all the best. Over to you, TM.
Thank you, Nagesh Ramamurthy. And moving on, the fourth speaker of the day is attempting his level 1, project 3 from effective coaching. One rule that he will never break is loving others and loving himself. And why? Because he simply believes that the one unbeatable thing on planet Earth is love. A podcaster himself, hosting his own show called as the Lalith Dhanush Show. This Sunday, he's putting out an episode with our very own Dr. Rajdeep Manwani. None of us would want to miss that, isn't it, friends? So with endless cheering and clapping, please help me welcome onto the electronic platform Toastmaster Lalith Dhanush to deliver his speech titled Readers Are Leaders. Readers Are Leaders by Toastmaster Lalith Dhanush. Over to Lalith.
If there was one thing I absolutely hated, that was my cousin brother Rakesh, who lived right across the road. But if there was one more thing that I absolutely hated more than him, it was my chemistry and mathematics textbook. Back in the year 2013, I remember the date very well, April 27th, the day I finished my chemistry exam. That day was the happiest day of my life because I got the chance to discard my subject textbooks. The very same day, my parents took me across the street to a Bel Puri wala. And there, they were served sumptuous Bel Puri and the most delicious hands in the entire area. Ramesh, our Bel Puri wala, was putting fresh Bel Puri right off a sheet of my chemistry textbook. My father looked at me and I looked at him. He realized that his son, the great Lalith, had just given his chemistry textbook to the Bel Puri wala. Dear friends, most of us today, at the thought of our textbook, either tremble if we are not a topper. I was one such student. I hated textbooks, and moreover, after I graduated and I started my own business, every business guru, every single entrepreneurial coach kept saying, readers are leaders, readers are leaders. And I said, I hate reading and I can never be a great leader. But intriguingly, there's something that I understood, that most of us only hate textbooks, but we hate books simply because we were forced while we were little children. So raise your hands if you are one person who's never read a book simply because you were forced onto your textbooks when you were little. Can I see some hands raised? Oh, now I realize, not many hands are raised because I'm speaking to a bunch. Oh, I see some hands now. I was just going to say some Toastmasters have been toppers throughout their life. Now, I'm one such student who hated textbooks. Speaking of which, did you know that in India, there's over 74.5% of literacy rate growing year on year in the year 2020? And this survey was conducted by the National Youth Readership Program. And they soon said that amongst the 75%, only 6% actually go on to read books for the rest of their lives. And now I was astounded. I did not understand why. And one day, one of my friends walked up to me and said, Lalith, maybe books are not the problem. Maybe it was your parents and teachers who forced you onto it. Like a light bulb switched off, I realized that was true. And I soon stumbled upon something beautiful. I stumbled upon YouTube. And I saw a bunch of YouTubers talking about a beautiful book called The Mockingbird. And in this book, they explained it in just 6 minutes. What was 300 pages was explained in 6 minutes. And I soon realized every single line in that book made sense. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope if you are on the same ship that I am, that today's speech will give you some insight as to how you can start reading books. Maybe not read a book, but consume the information in that book from today. So grab a pen and a paper and note down the things I'm about to say because they can really help you. Have you ever tried reading? And by the time you finish 60 pages, you're either dozing off to the most beautiful sleep in the world, or you might just observe a small little ant that's climbing onto the wall, and then you realize the ant has 4 legs. Oh no, wait, 6 legs, and the ant has becomes much more interesting than the book, then what I'm going to say next is just for you. Now, I have discovered that my passion for reading is low, but consuming my content is high. So today, I'm going to give you a couple of apps that you could use as alternatives to reading a book, and this can take you to consume that content in just 12 to 20 minutes. You have apps like the Blinkist, Audible, and 12 Minutes, which can really help you digest these books into small paragraphs of summary and snippets of audio snippets, which you can digest while taking a shower, while eating your food, or even quarreling with your spouse. Move on to YouTube. Now, these are paid platforms that I just told you, but if you move on to YouTube, you have multiple people. From India, you have somebody called Saheli Chatterjee, who summarized books into such a fun-loving manner. Then you have Evan Chamberlain, who again gives takeaways from these books. Apart from that, you have the Escaping Ordinary Reader, who's a wonderful YouTube channel. And finally, 2000 Books, who summarizes books like nobody else. If you want to avoid that, and let's say you're an Instagram lover just like me, you want to read books just within 3 swipes, you want to read a book within 60 seconds or 120 seconds, you could follow the following pages. The first page is called Get Better with Books. Get Better with Books does something fantastic. They highlight only the most important points, and they do it only with 10 points so that you can get the best 10 takeaways that there possibly is. The second one is called Alex and Books. Alex is a person from England, and he loves reading books, and he's helping people like you and me understand them much better. Finally, you have Books on a Desk. Now, Books on a Desk is something that I really love. I love the phrase because most of the times when we buy a book, they're left on a desk accumulating dust and cobwebs. However, this person takes these books and summarizes them much beautifully for you. Follow these pages, download these apps, subscribe to these YouTube channels. They cost you absolutely nothing. And I'm sure the price of a book is saved and your time is. Now, if you forget all of these things and you still say, no, Lalith, I want to be a reader, I want to read a book, then consider reading as your friend and learn this technique to help you make that friend your best friend. This technique is called speed reading. The ability to do peripheral reading by not looking at the main words or the highlighted words, but looking at the whole subject, by highlighting points, by reading quickly, by reading more, you will become a speed reader. If you become a speed reader, I'm sure you can literally consume books at the speed of light. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, I hope your book is nothing compared to your textbook. And guess what? My company is called More Than Textbooks. On that note, remember, if you want to be a leader, you got to be a reader. So please enjoy your reading and continue leading the world. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you so much, Lalith. Your speech on books and their significant impact upon the world, your research presentation was indeed motivational, dynamic, and most definitely engaging. Friends, can we hear that loud blast, that giant blast of applause for Toastmaster Lalith's informational, impactful, and impressive speech? Thank you very much. Has the voting link been shared, Chaitra?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Friends, the voting link for the best speaker has been shared in your WhatsApp chat. The code is 1310. I shall give you only 20 seconds to register your vote, and your time begins now. Moving on, now it's the time for some inspiration and for some desperation as well. And to help you listen, think, organize, and speak on your feet is the Table Topics Master of the Day, Toastmaster Akhilesh. He has two passions. One is coding and the other is exploring new technologies. And right now, he is madly in love with his 10-month-old daughter, Gyanvi. So with endless clapping, please help me welcome onto the electronic podium, the Table Topics Master of the Day, Toastmaster Akhilesh, to conduct his brain-teasing session. Over to Table Topics Master Akhilesh.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Sureka ma'am, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. We just had a splendid prepared speech session. But more often than not, in our lives, we might be put in a situation where we may have to speak spontaneously without much preparation or time. To practice this impromptu speaking and improve our communication skills, we have this exciting session called Table Topics in Toastmasters. So in today's Toastmasters meeting, I will present some quotes from famous people as topics, and I request the members of the meeting to speak on this topic for a certain duration. Please note that the maximum duration of the speech should be between 1 minute to 1 minute 30 seconds. Now, with no further ado, let's start our exciting table topic section. So the first topic for today's session is life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Can I have Toastmaster Alan Arana to speak on this topic, please?
Hi, Akhilesh. Thank you so much for that topic. I can definitely relate and agree with this fact because, you know, when I was in school, I was someone who was not very, very good in studies. And, you know, many times when you are not good at doing something, you really sometimes feel like giving up, right? And though I was pretty okay with certain subjects, I was terrible at maths. As you know, someone else had also, like Kunal had said in his speech, that he didn't like maths. So from the 8th to the 9th, I consecutively, you know, failed in maths. Though I did well in other subjects, maths was my weak subject. And there were times where I just thought, am I good to do anything in my life? But, you know, sometimes just the fact of surviving the day is very, very important. And I'm glad that I did, because
Sorry, Alan, I think we lost your audio. Okay. Okay, I think we lost Alan's audio due to the network connectivity. So let's move on.
Sorry, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Alan, we're able to hear now.
Yeah. So over time, I've just realized that life is beyond, you know, as Lalith said in his wonderful, you know, project that he just spoke about, life is beyond books sometimes. And it's about living life. And today, when I look back at it, I'm just glad that I didn't stop and I kept going. So just like me, when I was in school, if there is someone in this Toastmaster meeting who just wants to give up, right? There are a lot of, you know, difficult times that we've all gone through, the pandemic. All I just want to say is that hold on, sleep over it, and tomorrow is a fresh day. And if anyone can do it, it's you, and the best is yet to come. Thank you so much, Akhilesh. Sorry for that technical glitch. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much, Alan. It was a wonderful take on the topic. So the next topic is the road to success is always under construction. The road to success is always under construction. Can I have Toastmaster Kamlesh to speak on this topic, please?
Yeah, thank you, Akhilesh, for a wonderful topic. Road to success is always under construction. And I think this applies to everyone. And if I look back my journey for communication, it was a terrible, I would say that I was not good at speaking. I was not good at networking with the people. And after some point of time, I realized that this is the end and my road is going to be end. I'm going to be finished. But after meeting with some people in the Toastmaster, I can say that they showed the road how to proceed further. And I think that is the power of Toastmasters networking. And that has changed the belief system that you can do at any point of time in the life, whatever you want. The age is just a number, right? So what I made a point that even in my personal and professional life, I have really achieved what I wanted in my life. And it's just because that I believe strongly that road, it is always under the construction of whatever you want to do. And there is no end. So if you are at any age, and good part that we have a very good mix of people in Toastmaster, 18 to 70-year-old, and each of them are making own route for the construction of their life. So this is what I can say. Thank you, Akhilesh.
Thank you, Toastmaster Kamlesh. Definitely age is just a number for success. So the next topic is whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Can I have Toastmaster Sanjay Rao to speak on this topic?
Yeah, thank you for the topic, Toastmaster Akhilesh. Am I audible?
Yes, Toastmaster, you're audible.
Yeah, whether you think you can. So we usually, I love trekking. So when you look at the mountain top from the bottom, you think it is not possible. So you usually feel, oh my God, I have to climb so many steps to get to the top. And if you went in late to do the trekking, then there would be heat as well, and you have to carry all your stuff along with climbing. So we look at the top and we think we cannot do this. And if you stay there thinking that you cannot do this, you will never get to the top. So what we do, we take steps. And one more thing to get to the top is you have to have necessary people or friends or people along with your journey, so that they can motivate you and you can motivate them along the journey, and you make it to the top. So whether you think you can do it or you cannot do it depends on the system that you use. The system could be your friends and the kind of physical fitness that you have prior to that. So every little details matters, whether you think you can or you cannot. And to add to that, there was one research wherein a London Olympic team, so they were failing at everything. So there was a new coach. So what he started doing is he started optimizing every little thing about their training, such as their sleep and everything, everything they optimized. And previously they used to think that they cannot achieve gold in Olympics. Secured around 16 or more gold in that particular Olympics. So whether you think you can, you cannot, depends on various set of things, and we need to consider all of these to get where we want. Thank you. Over to you, Toastmaster Akhilesh.
Yep. Thank you, Toastmaster Sanjay. Wonderfully spoken. So the next topic is, if you want to shine like a sun, first burn like a sun. If you want to shine like a sun, first burn like a sun. Can I have Toastmaster Rajdeep Manwani to speak on this?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Am I visible also a little bit now? Yeah.
Yes, sir, you're
Yeah.
visible as well. Yeah.
I'm reminded of an incident which happened when I was young. I was asked by my parents to go to a temple every day near my house. It was a small Devi temple, and I used to walk every day. And once what happened was, we leave the slippers outside, and the slippers got stolen. And I had to come back in the burning sun with my legs all charred with all that. But my mother said, now since you have lost the slippers, I'm not going to get you a new slippers. You have to go with those barefoot every day to the temple. So I used to go barefoot every day to the temple. Around 10 years back, I had visited that same temple. I used to live on Double Road, and my mother also had come. And the pujari over there, who's become very old, said, do you know, when your son used to come to the temple, he couldn't see, but he used to come barefoot. At that time, our financial position was so bad that we had thought that we were going to close down the temple. But just because he used to come barefoot, burning in the sun, we thought that we will manage to raise funds for the temple and keep it open. Now, I had a different opinion. My mother used to force me, and I used to burn in the sun. But something else happened. So what happens is, sometimes when you want to shine like the sun, you have to burn in the sun. Literally, I walked barefoot, and how many people would have got their faith in those last 20, 25 years because the temple remained open for something which even I didn't plan. So just remember this. You have to burn in the sun to shine like the sun. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster. Wonderful as usual. So the next topic is you will never win if you never begin. You'll never win if you never begin. Toastmaster Chetna Rajendra, can you please take up this topic? Toastmaster Chetna Rajendra, are you there? Okay, looks like it's not there. Toastmaster Sai Deepak, can you please take up this topic?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Deepak, you're able to hear you.
Yes, hello everyone. Can you please repeat the topic once?
You will never win if you never begin.
Okay. So you'll never win if you never begin.
Yes.
Yeah. So this quote reminds me of a time, some 2 years back. Okay. So I was actually struggling for a job change at the time. Now I did not know coding. And, I had also already some 2-3 years into my career, and I did not know coding. And it was quite a difficult thing to, search for a job if I did not know coding. Now it was like, when I started off, it was really difficult for me. And, I was trying to learn, Python and all. But, somehow when I saw all the others around me, it seemed like it was like it was quite intimidating, like people were like way ahead of me in terms of coding. They are coding all advanced things and all, and I was like struggling with basic, print statements and these kind of things. So at that time, I was like thinking about giving up, and then suddenly I felt like, I should definitely give it a try. At least I should start somewhere. And so that time I started looking into it. The time I started looking into it, I started off very slowly. I started off in very baby steps, and I started to go really deep into it. And finally, I did get a job change. And after getting a job change, I did get into a role where I was supposed to do a lot of coding, and I could do really well with my coding part also, and I could actually lead a team in that aspect. So finally, I really believe in like the thing, if you really want to go somewhere, you'll have to start at some point, actually. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, fantastic, Toastmaster Deepak. Very much relatable. Yeah. So the last topic for today's session, the topic is, the bad news is that time flies. Good news is that you are the pilot. The bad news is that time flies. Good news is that you are the pilot. Can I have Toastmaster Puneet Surana to speak on this?
Time is a weird thing. It sorts of warps you. Now that I'm 25 years, I look back and I see, oh my God, 25 years have passed. And for somebody else, it's just 25 years. And scientists have been baffled for centuries. When they observe time, it behaves differently. And when they don't, it behaves differently. I think that's the absurdity of the time that we as a culture have created. It was supposed to be something to get organized around. And now we're stuck wondering what it is that we started organizing around. I don't remember the second half of the topic. Akhilesh, you'll have to repeat that.
Good news is that you are the pilot.
I don't think we are the pilot. Let's be honest. I think we are the individual with the parachute, and you never know when you will be kicked out of the flight. And every night is like a small death for each of us. And COVID has made that reality really apparent for each of us. So I hope you see yourself not as a pilot who somebody directs and micromanages time, but somebody who has no idea when their time will be up. And there won't be a timer. In most cases, there is no timer. Some people have near-death experiences, but in most cases, there is no timer. So I hope you realize you have no idea when it's going to be up, and urgently go to things that really matter to you instead of whiling away the time. Thank you. Back to Akhilesh.
Thank you, Toastmaster Puneet. At least we have the parachute. Thank you all Toastmasters for that wonderful take on the topics. Now I hand over the virtual stage to Toastmaster of the Day, Sureka ma'am.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Akhilesh. Friends, I'm sure you found that session challenging and stimulating too. So let's hear that loud bang for Table Topics Master Akhilesh's innovative and imaginative session. And Toastmaster Chaitra, has the link been shared for the best table topic speaker? So friends, the voting link has been shared in the WhatsApp chat. The code is 1310. I shall give you 20 seconds to cast your vote. So just go ahead and please do it fast. Thank you. Now, let's move on to the most galvanizing session of the evening, popularly called as the Breakfast of Champions. The general evaluator of the day, Toastmaster Ganesh Pai, is a finance professional and has been a committed Toastmaster for more than 6 years. And his three topmost values are faith, sincerity, and dedication. With a giant blast of applause, please help me in welcoming the general evaluator of the day and the Commander-in-Chief of the Evaluation Forces, Toastmaster Ganesh Pai, to conduct his session. Over to General Evaluator, Toastmaster Ganesh Pai.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sureka, for that introduction. And welcome all to the evaluation session. With the belief and conviction that this session will give valuable insights to all the role takers and speakers, let me begin the general evaluation. We will slice and dice the proceedings of the meeting to see what went well and what are some of the things which we can just polish ourselves so that we can evolve in this journey of public speaking and leadership. Let us begin with the first role taker on the stage today, Sergeant at Arms Toastmaster Chaitra. She started the meeting bang on time, 6:30. We were live. Prior to that, 6:15, she ensured the meeting was open so that all the speakers and the role takers could just do the voice testing in terms of the camera positions and whether they were audible. And that's how it got started. And even when she started off the meeting, she had a nice strategy to get everyone participated. Otherwise, it gets a little boring, right? I mean, we are actually hopping from one meeting to another meeting digitally. It gets a little boring. You lose a sense of, where am I? So I guess just to break that monotony, she had a nice little way. She had a few questions and really got us thinking. So that was a nice way to just warm up everyone and get into the group. That's something I really like. Thank you so much. Well done, Chaitra. And since you have close to 20 more meetings to come, a few tips if I can offer you, so that it help you evolve in the role. When you said Bangalore Toastmasters Club, I guess you said Bangalore City Toastmasters Club. I think old habits die hard, and you know why. So maybe that one thing you can be a little mindful next time when you mention the name of the club. Other thing I noticed was you are not really engaging with the participants at the beginning of the meeting. First 15 minutes were a bit quiet. I don't know whether it's you have inhibitions or you just or you are introvert, but maybe if that is the challenge, maybe it's a nice way to break it and just engage in some bit of chit chat so that it keeps the it keeps the session alive. And I also thought the questions you could have limited to 3 at max. I think you went up to 4. That really will cut down the time for the remaining role takers. So if you could restrict it to 3, being mindful of the time within which you have to carry out your role, I think that will really help you as you mature into the role. For the role, well done. Can we give a loud round of applause for Toastmaster Chaitra? Next to come on the digital podium was our Madam President, Hannah Victoria. Now, before I really evaluate her role in terms of the presidential address, I want to evaluate or give a perspective on a different dimension, which is the leadership. First time I met Hannah was 2 years, I mean, 2.5 years ago, when I was PPPR, and I was looking for like-minded folks to be part of my subcommittee. When I'd invited for the being part of the subcommittee, Hannah was the first one to offer her this one. And then when I met her, I was not too sure how someone who has a full-time job plus 2 growing kids, how she'll be able to really handle this along with her. And the sincerity with which she really managed the entire help me in that my term. And post that, she has been part of at least, I think, last 4 terms, she has been part of the committees. Goes on to show the leadership qualities which are dormant within her and how she used Toastmaster as a platform to really bring it to surface. And with that, and whatever role she does it with absolute sincerity. And this is something really make Hannah a personality worth emulating. A lot to learn from her, because whenever I tend to say I don't have time, I once for a moment think, hey, what Hannah would have done in this situation? I think should have still done it. So, so maybe one day, Hannah, you should take a session on time management. And from the leadership perspective, you're definitely a role model, and I believe you have a longer way to go. And in terms of your presidential address, again, it was flawless. You tick the box in terms of all the usual proceedings, the usual dotting the I's, crossing the T's, all that was well done. And your story was, again, that's your forte in terms of speaking from your personal experiences that really connects with the audience, because I mean, the personal stories are always relatable, and today was no different. Nicely done. What I would want to challenge you, and President Hannah, moving forward in terms of the presidential address is, why can't you challenge yourself in areas which are not your strengths at this juncture? And I'm just making it up. Maybe it could be humor, or it could be an inspiring message. Okay, I'm not saying it is not your strength, but I'm saying if you believe any aspect of a public speaking, which you think you need to challenge yourself, maybe you should use the rest of 20 odd or whatever meetings left to see how you can really challenge yourself on those aspects, so that at the end of the term, you can definitely look back and say, hey, this is something I thought I never do, but I'm much more better on these things. So that is one thing the thought I would leave you with. And maybe you can keep the intros bit short. I think you went bit overboard. Maybe that you can keep in mind when you introduce the Toastmaster of the day next time. Otherwise, it was flawless. And for doing a job so well, let us give a loud round of applause for Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ganesh. Thank you.
In between, we had Secretary Toastmaster Kirtana read out the secretarial report, and Kirtana was absolutely spot on in terms of the secretarial report was crisp yet comprehensive. All the critical pieces of the meeting were very well covered. There was nothing superficial or anything redundant. I think that was absolutely well done. And I have just two small tips, Kirtana. When President handed over the stage to you, you could have just said thank you. I think you straight away went into good evening and all that. Maybe you could have just paused for a moment, thanked her, as how we would have done in a normal in-person meeting. And when you were indicating the speakers and their evaluators, if at the end you could have just said respectively, it would have really made it look complete. Having said that, I must say it was a very well job done. Thank you so much. Let's again hear it for Toastmaster Kirtana. Okay, next to come on the stage was Toastmaster of the day, Sureka ma'am. Sureka ma'am, we all know she has her own strength in terms of inspirational talks. So even in the calamity, she's someone who sees the opportunity. And today's theme of today's meeting was absolutely playing to her strength. And that was really visible in the way she actually went about speaking on the topic. There was so much belief and conviction in the way she went about narrating the Roger Bannister story. Was a treat to watch and actually a delight to listen to. And these are the kind of the talks when someone totally believes in the message. That's when the audio and video are in sync. And this was a masterpiece on that front. Very well done, ma'am. Very well done. And anyway, we know you are absolutely gifted in terms of vocabulary, and the way you play or wave the words and really bring in some uniqueness and novelty is phenomenal. Eyesight and mindsight, software engineering, and these are some of the innovation, if I can say, in a normal speech that really elevates the quality of the speech, and that you did with a finesse. And I must say it was very well done. And even in terms of the introduction for all the speakers, there was a uniqueness in each and every introduction. There was no repetition. There was no templatized way to introduce. You had a unique thing to say about everybody. And for that essentially means you have done quite a bit of work, and you reached out to me last week. So goes on to show the kind of hard work and the seriousness you have in the role. It is just not one more role. You could have just sent one message to everybody and say, hey, 1, 2, 3, these questions, just answer, and you could have used it. But you didn't do that. You took the harder route. You did more than what was expected of you, and you started well on time, and the results was there for everyone to see. And the other nice part was you never tried to steal the limelight from others. A role of Toastmaster of the day is just to be that one thread which actually joins the entire meeting and makes it a beautiful garland. It is not to really hog the limelight and steal the thunder away from others, but how you can make other role takers and speakers look good. And that again, you did with absolute finesse. Well done, ma'am. Brilliant job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ganesh.
Just few hints just to make it little more, if I can say, add a Teflon coating to what has been already a splendid role. Is you could have just used some aspect, just some opportunity, if I may say, to inject humor into that, because I know you have that streak of humor in you. So you could have used that in few cases. So that would have been good. And when you read the DTM Lalith's speech title, "Leaders Are Readers," I think we couldn't really. It was not too clear. Maybe that was one thing I thought I'll just highlight to you, but very minor. Otherwise, I guess you did a fantastic job, Toastmaster Sureka. For a job well done, let us give a thunderous round of applause to Toastmaster Sureka.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, so next we had prepared speeches. First speaker of the day is Toastmaster Vijaysai B, and his speech is being evaluated by Toastmaster Sudipto Ghosh. May I request Toastmaster Sudipto to give the evaluation, please?
Veni, Vidi, Vici. Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and Vijay in particular. Vijay, given your love for the letter V, I thought it would be apt to paraphrase Julius Caesar to describe your speech. Caesar had famously said, "Veni, Vidi, Vici." And in your case, true to your name, you came, you saw, and you conquered. Your speech far exceeded the guidelines of an icebreaker. Not only did you shatter the ice, I'm afraid you have triggered an environmental crisis by accelerating the melting of the Himalayan glaciers. My repertoire of adjectives is not really vast enough to describe all the good things about your speech. Coming to your delivery, you were supremely confident and poised and connected with the audience very well. I guess that comes from your years of speaking in public and how accomplished a public speaker you are, and that just showed in the speech. Now coming to the content, we came to know you very well, which was as per the guidelines of the speech, but I'm really flabbergasted by the amount of information you could weave in about your background in such a short time. Your speech glided very smoothly from your childhood, your school, your life as a lecturer, your professional journey, then how you created a company which you're leading now. And in between, you weaved in details about your family, your wife, your children, and introduced us to the V family. Along the way, you took a crack at humor also, and I like that, particularly your reference to CFO being the chief fun officer. You're going from IF to IF, intermittent feasting to intermittent fasting. Really superb. So given how accomplished the speech was, how could we make it better? In my opinion, and just in my very humble opinion, I felt that you could have maybe reduced some of the information about your background, about talking about your accomplishment, because there were just too many of this, right? And instead, focused on a couple of them, pick two of them and go into more detail on that. That would have accomplished two things. A, we would have, got to know you much better on those particular facets, and you could have introduced some pauses in the speech, because at some point of time I thought you were just kind of rushing to list out all of your multifarious accomplishments. And I mean, as an audience also, I could not take pause. Okay, you did this, you spoke in front of S.D. Sharma and all that, right? So that could have let the audience digest some of your background a little more detail. But I think that's just a minor speck of cloud in a speech filled with sunshine. True to your attitude, you have really seized the day, and I would love to hear future speeches from you. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sudipto. Totally agree, concur with you. Absolutely spot on in terms of your observation. And I think Toastmaster Vijaysai, I think you exceeded the timing. So maybe if you had practiced it beforehand, I guess that would have helped you to logically conclude your speech within the allotted time frame. Having said that, you joining Toastmasters is like Amitabh Bachchan going to National School of Drama. You are so accomplished in terms of public speaking and leadership, and now you come back and just want to get better at this craft. Goes on to show that unquenchable desire or thirst in you to always keep challenging yourself. I think we'll have a lot to learn from you. Welcome to Bangalore Toastmasters Club, and look forward to hearing your speeches. Let us give a louder of an applause for Toastmaster Uthappa and Toastmaster Vijaysai. We had one more icebreaker today, and next to come on stage was Toastmaster Kunal Metha, and his evaluator is Toastmaster Rajanna. Toastmaster Rajanna, may I request you for your evaluation, please?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, dear guest, and Toastmaster Kunal in particular. So I would like to firstly congratulate Toastmaster Kunal for taking his first step in the journey of Toastmasters Bangalore and the journey of him becoming an amazing orator. So I think today's theme best suits him because he has believed in himself, and that has made him a personality that he is today. Coming to the speech, so these are the things that I observed. The speech was wonderfully structured. So he opened the speech by saying last but one Sunday on August 1992. So that created kind of a curiosity in us to know what happened on that day. So then he told about his challenges that he faced, initial challenges that he faced in his life. So then he moved on to the body of the speech, which included the transition from one step of his life to the next step, from class 8 to class 10, class 10 to 12, then how he accomplished his BBM, then MBA, then he ended up as a manager in a museum in Bangalore. So coming to the conclusion, so he connected all of this by saying the student who did all this was me. And that he linked a personal life incident of his life, wherein he was trying to learn how to walk on a stick. And there he heard an instruction from his mentor saying, one step at a time, which he linked that to his speech title. That was amazing. So then the other things was, he was clearly heard. His confidence level was really good. His comfort level was awesome. Coming to suggestion, I would like to suggest one thing to Toastmaster Kunal. I personally felt this was more of his educational and professional introduction. So I would look forward to have some personal details, like I didn't get to know where is he from, which place he belongs to, which part of India is from. So he could have elaborated more on his hobbies, interest, what he will do in his free time. So these are the things which would have given some personal detail about them. So nonetheless, we have a journey ahead wherein we'll get to know more about his wonderful personality. So look forward to hear more from Toastmaster Kunal. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much.
Thanks Toastmaster Rajanna for that clinical evaluation. Totally agree with your observations. And Toastmaster Kunal, I must say it was very inspiring talk. I mean, the kind of risks you have taken and proved so many people wrong on the way goes on to show the kind of depth in the personality you have. A really amazing speech. Congratulations on your stage debut, and look forward to many more speeches in the days to come. Let us give a loud round of applause for both Toastmaster Kunal and Toastmaster Rajanna. Next speaker for today was Toastmaster Prathik Uthappa, and his speech will be evaluated by award-winning evaluator Toastmaster Vijaysai.
Thanks so much, Ganesh. Toastmaster Prathik Uthappa and the mesmerizing heavens. Thank you so much, Prathik, for introducing us to the cosmos in under 7 minutes. Why would I say this was fantastic? What were things that was really fantastic? You started with a question. about stars, and that got all the audience attention. It's very difficult. It's easy to ask a question for the sake of it, but to ask the right question to start a speech is not easy. That's what you did. Brilliant. Then as you were going, as the energy of the speech was slightly monotonous, you brought up that very good prop of yours, the giant binoculars. That is really, I have never seen a binoculars that big. Then you had some sort of a persuasiveness to the audience to pick up astronomy as their hobby. With the pointers. It's not just pick up astronomy as a hobby. It's just like pick it up, and this is where you buy this. This is what you should buy. This is where you should go to that museum, get some kind of a feeling about this particular hobby and things like that. So that was really encouraging. But Prathik, Uthappa, cosmos is cosmos, vast and unending. But our speeches must be definite and specific. Your general purpose, any speech should have a general purpose, and your general purpose was to inform the audience or persuade them to some extent. But the specific purpose, I felt it was a bit lost. For example, if the specific purpose was to persuade us to follow a hobby in astronomy, then you must always eliminate distractions in the speech. First distraction was too much detail on the International Space Station, that they would have 52 sunrise and sunsets in a day, or whatever that is. Then what not to do with the binoculars? None of the business in the speech. That is not your speech was not about binoculars. So you don't have to tell that. Then conclusion has to complement the start. When you conclude saying that. You have to conclude something like this. Will you go out now after this meeting to gaze in the sky tonight? Or you can't have a conclusion saying that you should never give up. That has no relation with the entire content of the speech, informative nature of the speech. If I may suggest that if you make these changes, your speech will be as good as Neil deGrasse Tyson of the Cosmos show of the National Geographic. I strongly suggest you make these changes and repeat the speech in some other club, and you will see the difference in the audience. Back to general evaluator.
Thank you.
Thanks, Toastmaster Vivek, for that what I call as a down-to-earth evaluation. And as for Prathik, very interesting topic. Absolutely, I mean, very unique, very novel that way, very informative. And I agree with Vivek. Conclusion should have been a lot more sharper. I think it didn't really tie well to the overall subject what you had. But must say it was still a very educative speech that way. Thank you so much, both Toastmaster Prathik and evaluator Vivek. Let's hear it up for them. Next to come on stage was DTM Lalith, and his speech is evaluated by Toastmaster Nagesh Ramurthy. Sir, may I request you to share your evaluation, please?
Thank you, General Evaluator. Before I start, I don't see the speaker. Can somebody confirm he's there? Okay, nevertheless, this is getting recorded. I'll give my evaluation. We would proudly have a look at it. Good evening. Thank you, DTM Lalith, for providing awareness about various options to read and be a leader. DTM Lalith, during your speech, I was looking all around myself, the books strewn around me, and realizing how much trouble I have in absorbing those contents from them. I also related to you when you mentioned about Ramesh. Yeah, Ramesh, the Belpurivara, who used a page out of your chemistry book, but served you a different formula for your appetite. Yes, books. DTM Lalith, interesting topic to talk about. By the time you finish your speech, got to know a lot about alternatives to reading books and wanted to suggest few areas of improvement to your speech in a bit. What more did I like and enjoy in your speech? 3 of them for me. When you started off talking about your cousin across the road, I realized there is always a Sharmaji ka beta for a competition. We all have had that share of comparison during our school days. You bought those memories for me. Secondly, I heard you ask a question. Raise your hand. Here came a phrase in your speech where you wanted to shake and wake up those who went to sleep because you were talking about books. Next, you detailed about how one can look at alternatives to reading if books put them to sleep, or they are disinterested about reading, or wander or focus on an ant on the wall when they hold a book. Let me now tell you what I would have liked a bit different in your speech if you were to give it once again to me. Look at me. I'm here. When you tell a story, you look at me, I reciprocate to you. The audience is behind the camera, not on those tiny boxes on your screen. You are a great narrator, like a grandma telling a story to the little kids, so soft in your tone. I want to take away a few more emotions in your face and actions. As there was narration, and only narration, I wanted a bit of emotions as well. There was a small scope for you to include those in the audience like me who enjoy reading books and have plenty of them at their home around me. Except for a brief mention about talking speed reading, there was nothing in it for me and people like me. So in your speech, comfort level was fantabulous. Your attitude on stage to give a speech, very confident and tenacious. Storytelling to attract an audience doesn't need any work because that comes naturally to you. Use your body and voice to convey some emotions and conversations. That needs a bit of work. I'm glad that this project allowed us to understand more alternatives to read books. Wish to hear more about your experiences in your future speeches. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, sir. Your evaluation, as always, is on the money. And DTM Lalith, I must say, you took a different path towards research and presenting topic. Typically, speaker would have that pressure to inject a lot of numbers, statistics, but you took a different path and with a clear call to action. I must say, very well done. Thank you both, DTM Lalith and Nagesh Ramurthy. Let us give a loud round of applause to both these gentlemen. Toastmaster Chaitra, is the evaluator voting link
yes,
upon the group? Okay, so the voting code is 1310. Request you all to register your vote, and I'll also give 20 seconds. Okay, so next to come on stage was Toastmaster Akhilesh, the table topic master of the day. His choice of topics was amazing, very simple, nice, relatable, not great, no, didn't try to over experiment or anything of that sort. Stuck to his strengths and really conducted it elegantly. I could see most of the people were comfortable speaking for whatever allotted time, and that goes on to show that he didn't want to put anyone, didn't want anyone to fail. So really well done. Maybe just a couple of tips, Akhilesh, for you to excel when you take up that role next time is just try to mix your topic in a way when someone like when the veteran speakers like DTM Rajdeep Panwani come on stage, just give them topic which can really shake them for a moment. Okay, so idea is those who are trying to learn the impromptu speaking, give them topics which they can comfortably talk for 1.5 minutes, And those who are so good, push yourself, think out of the box, and try to make them uncomfortable. And that's the success marker for this role. And also at the beginning, if you can give little bit as to tips to excel in the as a impromptu speaker, just couple of lines to tell that hey, you may find it a little difficult, but at least speak for 30 seconds. Then one sentence at a time, you will get the idea to speak for 1.5 minutes. If you could have just given those 1 or 2 lines, that would have really given strength to those who are doing it, who find it still a little bit of uncomfort in impromptu speaking. And maybe you can also challenge yourself to transition from one speaker to another speaker. In that way, it becomes a table topic for you as well. You also will be alert to say, hey, how I have to connect to the next speaker or the next session. So that are some of the things, just so that you can really grow into this role. But I must say, you did a fantastic job, Toastmaster Akhilesh. Let's give a loud round of applause for Toastmaster Akhilesh as well.
Thanks for the feedback. Thank you.
Okay, now coming to the Taggle team, request timer Toastmaster Shreyas to quickly share his timers report.
What a fabulous roll of events today. We saw 5 role takers, 6 table topics, the 4 prepared speeches, and the 4 evaluators who came and used today's time in the meeting. We saw 2 prepared speeches who exceeded their time limit, and we saw table topics members exceeding their time limit, and evaluators, 2 were within and 2 were not within. I had my share of time of keeping time and seeing how people exceeded, not exceeded. Time flew. Over to you, General Lalith, to the day.
Thanks, Toastmaster Shreyas, for that quick rundown into the timer rule. May I request our counter, Toastmaster Priyanka, to share her findings with us?
Good evening, everyone. First, I would like to thank all the role takers to make my role very easy today. I'm very happy to say that all the speakers and evaluators had no filler words nor repetitive words. Even the pauses that were used were apt, in my opinion. In table topic, Alan had the filler words 3 Kamlesh 2 Sanjay 5 and 4 to 5 times used repetitive words. So Deepak had 4 short pauses, unnecessary pauses, and was used repeated twice. Puneet had 2 short pauses and used repetitive word and. That is all that I have today, and thank you all. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thanks, Priyanka. Thank you so much. May I request Toastmaster Chiranta Gowda to share his grammarian report?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. So today's word of the day was pertinacity, so which was used by Toastmaster Hannah and Toastmaster Sureka ma'am once. And the outstanding usage of words are sumptuous, repertoire, and mad, 1 meal a day diet. And the thoughts are comparing stars to a box of jewels, fun innovation of funometer to measure the fun at an organization. And the quote I came across is, if you want to be a leader, you have to be a reader. So over to you, Toastmaster TM Modi.
Thanks. Thanks, Toastmaster Chiranta. One feedback in terms of selecting the word of the day. Maybe it's better we select the words which can be sort of used in day-to-day in terms of, let's say, pertinacity seems like a bit borrowed from the lexicon of Shashi Tharoor. So it could have been a tenacity, could have been much better. So I guess it is not to really dissuade people from using it. I guess use the words which one can really have application value in our day-to-day this one. So that's what I had to say on that. May I request Toastmaster Richard D'Souza to see how all of us have been attentive.
Toastmasters, a few questions. President, Madam Hanna Victoria got an advice from her fellow Toastmaster saying that end is not in your control. Give your best shot. Whose advice it was? End is not in your control. Give your best shot. Whose advice it was to President Hanna Victoria? Okay, it was from Madam Sureka Jagdani. The second question, prior to 1954, finishing 1,500 meters in 4 minutes was not possible. But who created that record?
Roger Bannister.
Yeah, yes, very correct. Thanks, Vijaysai, for that. Who invented phonometer?
Vijaysai, Toastmaster Vijaysai.
Yes, thank you, Chirant, for that observation. Who is working on the project Arts Accessible to All? Which Toastmaster?
Toastmaster Kunal.
Yeah, very correct, very correct. Thank you, Chirant, for your observation. Then Toastmaster Prathik Uthappa in his speech quoted a quote, remember to look up at the stars, not at your feet. Which scientist told this?
Stephen Hawking.
Yes, very correct. Thank you, Madam Hanna Victoria. Then it is like Amitabh Bachchan going to acting school. Whose words were? Which Toastmaster words? Who told this? Yes, and I think Toastmaster
Ganesh.
General Evaluator also told the same thing. Over to General Evaluator, please.
Thank you, sir. When you asked that last question, I was wondering, this sounds familiar. So thank you so much. With that, we come to the end of the general evaluation. I must say this has been a terrific meeting. Really enjoyed all the speeches and the performance of the role takers. Extremely satisfied being here doing the general evaluation. Thank you so much for this opportunity. With that, I hand over the stage back to Toastmaster of the day, Sureka ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, General Evaluator Ganesh Bhai. It was indeed the Rolls Royce of all evaluations. Friends, can we have that loud bang for General Evaluator Ganesh Bhai's amazing session and Chaitra has the role takers and for the Taggle team members.
Yes, ma'am.
Has been shared,
Yes.
Chaitra?
Yes, ma'am.
Friends, the links have been shared. Kindly go to your WhatsApp chat and do submit your vote as soon as you can. Thank you so much. Friends, it's now time to put the finishing touches to our meeting. I thank the committee, President Hannah and VP Ed Metha for having given me this wonderful opportunity. I wish you a great evening and a fantastic weekend ahead. I now hand over the controls of the meeting to our very dear President Hannah. Over to President Hannah.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sureka. Thank you. You've always been a great joy in all our lives.
Thank you so much.
While we wait for the results, I would like to invite a few guests to kindly mention how you came to know about the club and what was your experience. I could see Amar. Amar is there. Anish Iyer, sorry. Umar Farooq. Okay, Lawrence. Zafar.
Sounds like
Any
an
of the guests?
attendance.
Okay, any of the guests.
Sounds like an attendance, President Hannah.
Any of the guests would like to unmute and talk about their experience today? Okay. Go ahead.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Good evening, esteemed Toastmasters, Bangalore Toastmasters, and I really mean it. Especially today's meeting was just mind-blowing. I mean, every speaker spoke so well. I mean, for a lack of a better word, I don't know what to say, but I've attended this meeting now the third time consecutively, and all of you guys have spoken, so well, so accomplished in your speech. And Surekha ma'am, hats off to you. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
Also the general evaluator, the evaluation was so detailed and so perfect. I mean, so hats off to you. I mean, this is like, impeccable evaluation, I can say. And I kept asking Hannah ma'am that, how was it like when you start your online sessions? Would you still have a provision of offline and online, or how was it? Because I'm so looking forward to join the club, but I have a few constraints. So from that point of view, I just wanted to know how it is going to be.
Sure, and thanks. I've got your message. I will get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's. We'd love to have you on, in the meetings, but if it's offline, we're working towards a hybrid meeting. So I will reach out to you for sure. Any other guests who'd like to step in? Okay. Meanwhile, I will read out a few announcements for the club. Next week is the club contest. We have quite a few participants, and I encourage all of us to join in to encourage them as well. We have at least, I think we have around 12 participants as of now. And the speechcraft session will start on the 6th of March, an offline session. So it will continue for 8 weeks. Guests who want to know more about the speechcraft program can contact our Vice President membership, George, to know more details about it. Yeah, and now we do have the results. The best Taggle award goes to Toastmaster Richard D'Souza. Many congratulations to you, sir. The best table topic speaker goes to distinguished Toastmaster Rajdeep Manwani. The best role player goes to Toastmaster Surekha Jagdale. The best evaluator goes to Toastmaster Vivek Vijayan. And the best speaker goes to distinguished Toastmaster Lalith Dhanush. Many congratulations to all of you, and I thank each of the role takers for their time and effort put in bringing this meeting to a great end. And thank you for so much for your time. And I thank all of you, the 31 participants who are here, who finished this meeting successfully, who've been till the end, and I appreciate it. I thank each of you once again. Wishing you a great weekend, and see you next week for the speech contest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will the next week be a physical meeting?
No, next the contest is online, but following that, we'll let you know. It should be offline, but
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, President.
Thank you. Bye.
thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Congratulations.